morning. Let's welcome the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Mr. Senzo Mchunu Macingwane, and Her Excellency, the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, my sister Tembinka Dimeng, and all our guests that are here. I'm going to request that we remain standing while there is a rendition of our national anthem. Oh, the sound people want me to sing, Minister. While we are seated, let's bow our heads. While we are standing, we will bow our heads in memory of those who have lost their loved ones since the beginning of this year. May their souls rest in eternal peace. Thank you. You can be seated. Your Excellencies, the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Minister Mchunu Macingwane, Your Excellency, the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Minister Tembinka Dimeng, Your Excellency, the Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, Judy Shabalala, Your Excellency, Deputy Minister of COCTA, Comrade Parkstow, all our MECs that are here, and the executive mayors that are here, our Director General for the Department of Water and Sanitation, Dr. Sean Phillips, and the other senior managers that are here today, the Director General for Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Mbulelo Changan, and all the senior managers, our chairperson of our water boards and CEs, our sitters that are here, the leadership of SALCA led by His Excellency the President of SALCA, and the other members of the executive of SALCA and the CEO, our professional bodies that we've invited from the sector, that they are all here, all the technical directors and all our government officials. On behalf of His Excellency, the Minister of Water and Sanitation, I'll be tasked to run the program for you for the early session. before we can proceed, I want to say that here, Minister Mchunu and Minister Nkadimeng, these are the brain trusts of our country that are responsible for water and sanitation. We then can quote Luna Leopold when he said, "Water is the most critical issue in our lifetime and in our children's lifetime. The health of our waters is the principal measure of how we can live on land," and I close quote. In the hands of these leaders, the policymakers, the decision makers, the experts, and all of us that are here in the water sector, over the last 30 years, we can take pride of the achievements we've made. We've been at the center of providing water to those South Africans who, on the basis of the color of their skin and on the basis of gender and where they come from, they were denied access to water, including the benefits of access to water. They were also denied access to sanitation, and their lives were stripped around the question of dignity. Therefore, it was not a mistake that our democratic dispensation, when we achieved our freedom, were to ensure that our constitution, in terms of the Bill of Rights, at the epicenter, the right to life, was equated to the right to access to water and the issues of a clean environment. As practitioners, we must appreciate that access to water can break the cycle of poverty. The issue of lack of water and poverty are actually mutually reinforcing. There is a lot of time that our people used to spend before our democratic local government, going out fetching water, seeking safe sanitation, and this had the biggest impact on the loss of economic opportunities. Now we know that in the last 30 years, we've improved access to water and given people more time, especially women and girl children, to pursue education and work opportunities. In that way, our democratic government has been at the forefront by access to water and sanitation to break the cycle of poverty. At the very same time, we're to address the issues of gender inequality and issues of patriarchy, because patriarchy had to take many different forms. At the center of gender inequality was the issue of access to water. Women and girl children, as we all had known, are disproportionately affected by the lack of water. Therefore, our efforts over the last 30 years of empowering women is very critical in resolving the challenges that we face. Those of you who are the practitioners in water, you will understand the relationship between the nexus of water, food security, including issues of energy. For our country to be able to have access to power generation like we have, and many South Africans have, one of the biggest input in terms of access to water and access to electricity is a question of water. And if water is not available, all the benefits around power generation and access to water will be lost. We have also been at the forefront, Minister Mchunu and Minister Nkadimeng, around dealing with the question of human suffering and the loss of dignity. We know that there are still many South Africans that still do not have access to water, quality water, or water infrastructure. And the message from His Excellency, our President Cyril Ramaphosa, is that we should leave no one behind. Those remaining percentages of South Africans that today they still don't have an access to the drop of water. They drink water that is of no good quality. They don't have infrastructure. This leadership led by yourselves here must leave no stone unturned to ensure that those people, they too are human, under the sign, they must be able to receive water. Bathi ke ngesisuthu engisifundile emacingwane liruna ribathu. Nathi singabantu. And the issues around waterborne diseases. Many of our people, when you look in terms of our lifespan, many young people were dying, especially black people, on the issues of preventable diseases like waterborne diseases. Therefore, access to water is at the center of all those particular efforts. Our ministers have convened you today on the basis that there are worrying signs in the water sector. Recently, our minister in December here in Eguruleni, he released the reports that are self-assessment reports, our blue drop and no drop, and also the issues of the progress report around the issues of the green drop. And when the ministers, they released this report, we've been in a position to give confidence to the sector, but it's also about being accountable. And the worrying signs are that there is a deterioration. The advances that we've made are being regressed. And we are being gathered here today to ensure that you turn the tide. You pull up your socks so that we don't endanger our own citizens by the issues of lack of water. Some of the issues that we have observed in our reports is that many of our human activities, they play a pivotal role in the present day water-related challenges that the reports the minister gave. Some of these challenges is a poor state of certain municipal-related infrastructure due to the lack of maintenance. One of our biggest problems, we don't respect and take care of the assets we have. We don't appreciate that for you to have a return on asset, you must be in a position to invest on it. You can't drive a Rolls Royce on a gravel road. You can't. Even how good the car is going to be able to stop. There's also the lack of investment that has resulted even on issues of water losses. Then there's a decrease in overall water quality at the level of the source. Our country, the minister has always emphasized, we are not going to run out of water. But the water we have, it will not be fit for various uses, or the cost of using that water will be very high. The other point is the pollution of water sources that has been caused by various human activities, whether mining, industries, agriculture, domestic, and it has caused a number of challenges because there is pollution of groundwater, surface water, and in some of our cities, they actually discharge raw sewer into the sea. Our estuaries are being affected. There is also the limited focus on water use efficiency and management. Our water use is beyond the world average. While we know that we're a water scarce country, our use per capita per day in terms of the liters, very, very high. And in Gauteng is worse, is running around 300 liters per person per day, while on average our country is 278. Then there's a lack of investment in infrastructure, especially the bulk water. Everywhere the minister goes, we have challenges that the demand is exceeding the available yield. And some of our catchments, we know that there is an over-allocation. But there is also the lack of planning. You know, when our ministers, they engage with you, some of the leaders of the sector, they can't plan. While they know exactly that the population has grown, there is issues of migration, the issues of the economic growth against the GDP, you have to plan for it. There's also the issues of climate change as we sit here. And we know that now there's going to be an impact even in the water prices, because the more there's water security challenges and we don't do what we're supposed to do, it will have an impact. That's why Minister Macingwane at one point, had to discuss the issue that were threatening the sustainability of the sector. Ikweleti ikhuphuke kakhulu. Abanye ababhadari. And there's a lot of these other things that we want to see. Therefore, for this summit, the minister has an expectation that our people deserve better. There is no way that after the results were issued in December a month ago, that this leadership can fail to demonstrate that we are going to turn around the situation. And the situation has to be turned around like yesterday, because we are violating human rights. We are threatening the sustainability of the sector. Therefore, as the program progresses, we'll have an opportunity, not discussing the talk about talks, but walking the talk. When we go there, the minister has expectations that will produce concrete actions for the immediate challenges of how these reports that the DG will present, we must respond to. As I conclude my welcoming, I want to take one of our finest revolutionaries, a human rights activist, Ubaba Ugandhi, who was here in our country and went back to India and continued with the issues of humanity for justice, peace, and development. When he said, the earth, the air, the land, and water are not an inheritance from our forebears or forefathers, but on loan from our children. So we have to hand over them at least as it was handed over to us. I repeat it again. Those of you who are leading the sector today, as this generation, you have to have a clarity of mind and a clarity of thought that this earth, the air, the land, and the water that we have today are not an inheritance from our forefathers. They are not. They are just a loan from our children's children. And our responsibility is to pass it over to the next generation for the sake of humanity and for the sake of justice and for the sake of development. And in your hands, when after these 2 days, when you conclude, you must be able to give hope that you will do things differently and our country will be better today and tomorrow than it was yesterday. I thank you. Our program today will have a first session. The first session will have addresses that are going to be given by our polka leaders that are leading both the water sector and the local government sector. We will also have a presentation to recap the main issues of our findings. And we must insist it's our findings. There are people who claim that this blue drop, green drop, and no drop, but it's our own finding under your leadership. And our Director General will do that. Then there are these pockets of brilliance and pockets of excellence. One Metro will come also and share a case study on how they've turned around the situation so that it becomes an example and a shining example that we must all emulate. At this stage, delegates, I want to welcome His Excellency, our Minister of Water and Sanitation in the Republic of South Africa, Ubaba uMacingwane Ndabezitha.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Deputy Minister David Mahlobo, Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation in the Republic. My greetings to my colleague in Cabinet of the Republic, Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Gauteng, in my own suit, I would say, Dumela. That's my own suit. All right.
We have responded in our own suit.
I would go on to greet Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, Ms. Shabalala. Water and Sanitation, the delegation from Salga, led by Councillor Stofile, who is Salga's president. And then I will also greet the honorable mayors that are here. We are grateful for your presence. This, in the main, is a gathering around yourselves more than any other thing, and therefore appreciate your presence in this meeting. If we have MSCs, we greet them with respect. They're welcome. The chairpersons of water boards that are here, we now have 7 water boards, and we greet them all. They're here. We then greet our Director General in Water and Sanitation, Dr. Phillips. Greet our Director General of COGTA, Mbulelo Changan. I don't see him here, although. I must recognize the chair of the Portfolio Committee in front of us here. Siyabulela Ndate. It's my Xhosa and my Sotho. Siyabulela. Thank you very much, Chair, for making time. We feel quite honored just by your presence to oversight our work in this particular aspect of our work today and tomorrow. We also welcome and greet, of course, municipal managers and technical directors. There are various entities that are here and professional bodies. We greet all of them and their leadership. We were honored by your presence. Of course, there are also CEs, chairpersons are always accompanied by their CEs. Dabona bao Sipho, no Sihlalo, and other CEs, of course, are here of water boards. Thank you very much for your presence. The heads of water and sanitation in various provinces, that is our offices in provinces. The DDGs, Deputy Directors General, all of them, I see them here. You're all welcome and are greeted. And all of you individually and collectively. First, I want to commend all of you for enabling us to start on time. I did see that when it was 9 o'clock, we were all standing up and starting our proceedings. That's part of civilization. If you don't come on time and start doing your things on time, civilization is far from you, or you are far from civilization. And let's make our country work. And in order for it to work, observe time, respect time, and that is important. Thank you very much for that. Zimbabwe is currently facing a cholera outbreak, which has claimed a number of lives. And we express our condolences to those families that have lost their loved ones in that country. And indeed, we pledge our solidarity with those families in Zimbabwe and also pledge our support to their government in their efforts to fight cholera, as it were. Our heartfelt condolences to those families here at home who have lost their lives as a result of flooding in various parts of the country, especially in KZN. We stand in solidarity with those families and offer support to municipalities that have to do the cleanup. It's also a challenge for ourselves to gradually change our human settlement patterns in accordance with our yearly experience. It doesn't help us year on year to go back to the same families and say sorry without making an effort in between to get them settling in better areas. Now, of course, at times like this, I always think about it. Do we as Ministry of Water and Sanitation go and say it has rained too much and therefore condemn the rain and say it's rather too much, it must now stop? Or we accompany those who would express that and we say through windows, but circle people better, leave the rain alone, and circle people better, secure them better. All I know is that it would be very difficult for me to go and lead a delegation and where to say, yeah, there's too much rain in this particular area. There will never be too much rain. We'd rather circle people better, such that if rain comes, they are secured. But we express our condolences with the families. Now, we are here today, and in the main, it is to engage with yourselves as water service authorities in the Republic on the outcome of the blue, the no drop, and the green drop progress assessment report released last year in December. That is in essence the theme of this summit. What are these results and what are they saying? And what's our understanding of that? Now, the blue drop and the green drop certification program were introduced in 2008, 16 years ago. Now, with the first report released in 2009 and each year thereafter until 2014. Between 2008 and 2014, the drop assessment gained respect in the sector as an effective regulatory mechanism that not only provides thorough assessment of performance of water and sanitation services to the public, but also provides a powerful incentive for municipalities to improve their performance, whilst providing them with guidance as to what needs to be done to improve performance. When the drop assessments started to show a decline in performance in various parts of the country, that is in different municipalities, in 2014, they were dropped, the assessments were dropped, simply because they were showing decline. I mean, they were showing that the quality of our performance was declining in the main. Now, it is exactly at that point that our transparency and our preparedness to be honest also stopped. And it was unfortunate. There are two things that we can never do in government. We cannot not be transparent and only become transparent to ourselves and not to the public that we're servicing. Two, we cannot not be honest. We have to be honest to ourselves, but in particular to the public that we're servicing. Because we're not here to service ourselves, we're servicing the public. And therefore we should always, and make no error, be honest to them. Now, that indeed was a mistake, as it is essential for an accountable and responsive government to be transparent and to provide citizens, who are the first law, with accurate information about the state of public services. Furthermore, government cannot start to improve its services if it is not frank and realistic about the current state of its services. We have since resuscitated the assessments and are committed to ensuring that the past era doesn't occur. When the reports were released last year, they showed a sharp decline in performance of both quality of drinking water and that of wastewater systems, as well as dramatic increase in non-revenue water and physical water losses. There were mixed emotions from the public. There were feelings of anxiety as to what then government would do next. And of course, what then government would not do next. Because at times we were famous or were known for not doing anything when certain things go wrong. It is taken for granted that we're not going to do anything. Other feelings were feelings of shock when people found out afterwards that all along they've been drinking water that doesn't deserve or that doesn't meet the standards, especially health standards. And others were surprised that they have never been told that they are drinking water that is less than the standard. But of particular concern to the public was the finding that the percentage of drinking water systems with poor and bad microbiological compliance in terms of the South African National Bureau of Standards and World Health Organization standards had increased from 5% in 2014 to 46% in 2023, non-compliance. Now, poor quality drinking water can cause a range of illnesses by individual citizens in our country. It's not just a question of there being less than required quality of water, but it causes illness. Now you can imagine the whole government system, the whole government service being unleashed to cause illnesses to citizens. So poor quality drinking water can cause a range of illnesses, including life-threatening diseases such as cholera, chronic dahu, hepatitis, etc. They say hepatitis A, typhoid, polio, and other diseases. I'm not a medical doctor or a scientist, but I listen to what they say. This is what they say. It is therefore understandable that the public were shocked and alarmed by the sharp decline in drinking water quality. The green drop finding that 2/3 of municipality or municipal wastewater treatment systems are either in the high risk or critical risk category also caused consternation. These high critical risk wastewater treatment works are discharging partially treated or untreated sewage into rivers and the environment on a daily basis. This not only has negative environmental implications, but also poses risks for human health. On a number of occasions when we visit municipalities or do work there, they do admit that because of one or two problems, we release raw sewer to the river. They have done so. We've come across such admissions elsewhere in the country, or somewhere in the country. And after those admissions, we all look down. We are unable to look at each other straight in the face after that admission. Once the manager responds by saying, yeah, because our treatment plant is not working, and you say, what then do you do? They say, we release sewer, we bypass this, we release directly to the river. So the manager would look down. The mayor will look down. Minister will look down. And then we'll then gain some strength and look at each other again. Sibana mahloni. And at the same time, we try to pray as we look down for strength to look up again. Now, the Constitution and the legislation provide a clear framework for the governance of the water services sector. Municipalities have a responsibility to ensure that their residents are provided with services that meet national norms and standards, and the national government has a responsibility to support municipalities to monitor adherence to norms and standards and to intervene where norms and standards are not being met. But we must indicate that we are now gearing up to do a little bit more than that via reviewed legislation, such that we are able to intervene directly where we need to intervene, because the kind of dispensation in legislation for now that we have has proven not to be effective, and it often embarrasses national government, particularly Ministry of Water and Sanitation. We cannot repeat and repeat one and the same thing, in the same area of failure. We should be able, where necessary, to go directly where there's a problem and turn things around to prove that we are government of the Republic of South Africa. Otherwise, people say, so what are you minister for if you can't change anything? If you go and observe and complain just like ourselves, you won't have Minister of Police going to a murder scene and then cry there that there's been murder and go back. You find those whose relatives are dead as a result of that murder, you cry with them. Then you go back and you say you're working. So I can't go to a municipality that is failing to provide clean water and record that they are indeed, and then go back every year. Can't do that. A Minister of Water and Sanitation, and implied the Minister of Clean Water and Sanitation that meets standards. And therefore, if that doesn't happen, I must do something and be accountable. Otherwise, what's my job? Both municipalities and national government can be held responsible and accountable for non-provision of basic human rights related to water and sanitation services. That's what the program director was saying. National government can rightly be accused of failing in its constitutional duties if it does not take decisive action to reverse the decline of municipal water and sanitation services. Minister of Water and Sanitation is increasingly, and of course the department, being held both publicly and legally accountable for the fact that municipalities are generally not providing water and sanitation services to standards. During 2023, we were repeatedly required to appear before the Human Rights Commission. They called us. And they said they presented long reports to us. And they started firing questions to us. Answer this, answer that, answer this, answer that. And we were there alone without you. We were there alone without you, including municipalities that are in various categories that DG will report about. And we felt that it is sometimes better to appear before the portfolio committee than to appear in those commissions. Human Rights Commission. And then the public protector also called us. Now, some of us are a little bit grown up. And some of the people who were asking us questions were younger people. Now, by nature, you conduct yourself such that the younger people won't ask you to account for your behavior, except coping what the good things that you are doing. If you come across a situation where a younger person calls you to account for your behavior and for things that you are not doing, indeed, when you get out of there, you are no longer yourself. You are no longer yourself. Worse, that in some cases we found that the Human Rights Commission would, in some cases in our perspective, exaggerate certain things. And we did say, this is not accurate, that's not accurate. We were not necessarily defending ourselves for the sake of defense. We're just pursuing facts as they are. But by and large, we were the cause for us being called to account. Not only were we called by the Human Rights Commission, but we were also summoned on a number of, at some point, by the public protector regarding the violation of people's rights to clean water and to a healthy environment free of sewage pollution. This including being required to account for the deaths of 47 people from 2023 cholera outbreak, which may have been caused by ongoing pollution of the Apis River by the Rooiwal wastewater treatment works in Amaskral, managed by the city of Tshwane. And in addition, some NGOs have started to take legal action against us and against me in particular, Minister of Water and Sanitation, and the department for failing to fulfill our regulatory duty to prevent sewage pollution by municipalities. There are also indications that criminal charges against me and the department are pending in this regard. So people are taking their rights seriously. Now just imagine, as a result of failure of a municipality, and in particular, I must note this, each municipality has a mayor with a name and a surname. With a name and a surname. But they won't take legal action against that person. If they do, it would be number 2, number 3. But the first person in the dock, Minister of Water and Sanitation, who is not responsible for Rooiwal. And in the case of Rooiwal, on several occasions we called the mayor and said, please allow us to manage this plant on your behalf. And the mayor of Tshwane at that time refused and said, I'm responsible here. I'm a water service authority. And the law says so. We even went on to Gauteng government to say, impose section 139 on Tshwane so that we can impose section 63. Gauteng government did so. Tshwane challenged them in court. And they were found wanting in the application of the law. And they were defeated. Tshwane continued to claim responsibility of Tshwane, which they were not fulfilling. And what happened? Rooival, cholera. These are some of the things that we're correcting in the law on water and sanitation, governing water and sanitation in the country, so that we don't have a repeat of that. But I'm just saying what happens when we don't play our role. Water service authorities, minister or Ministry of Water and Sanitation and the department, you get called to court. Now, I don't have a criminal record. And I didn't know that indirectly by agreeing to be Minister of Water when I got appointed, I was also inviting trouble to be called to court. It is as a result of things that are not being done correctly. Now, we are not dealing with just poor performance and any other performance. We are dealing with issues of morality here, issues of ethics here, in the sense that these issues have something to do with personal health. Somebody who is dying, going to hospital or is in hospital, you feel small. That is as a result of a waterborne disease, which you could have prevented. But here is that person going to lose their lives as a result of an omission by ourselves. As a result of omissions by ourselves. So it's a moral issue, it's an ethical issue. That's why we can't negotiate these issues. We just have to do what is right, and we just have to be open and say we're unable to do, so that we find a remedy. But we can't pretend that we are and always complaining about capacity, old this, old that. No, we can't do that. When people are dying, on the other hand, we are telling a story. We just need to provide, there's no choice here. So the question is, do we come here and plead issues of capacity, lack of money, aged infrastructure, or do we simply say, not in our name? It is unacceptable to use an excuse to delay the delivery of quality water and safe sanitation. Let me state this. Lack of capacity resulting in the delivery of non-compliant drinking water and non-compliant wastewater processing condemns South Africa, our beautiful country, into a circus on required standards and exposes citizens to various diseases? Or do we simply provide clean water? Today, and at the end of the summit, we must choose between the two. And in my view, we have one choice. Simply provide clean water. Please. We can't rise from here and still plead, hey, yeah, we have this, we have that. Please, we can't do that. even in your name as mayor, with a name and surname. You can't spend 5 years causing diarrhea and causing diseases there and continue to say, I am mayor. I preside over a water service authority. You can't do that. It is for this reason that we have invited you to this summit to discuss the blue, green, and no drop results in detail, collectively analyze the causes of good and poor performance, and to collectively agree on what is going on or what is going to be done to reverse the sharp decline in performance. The fact that this decline in performance must be reversed is non-negotiable. It is not negotiable that we have to reverse this decline. We'll rather be enemies, but end this decline, rather than be friends and not end the decline. And ultimately, no, the current situation is intolerable and indefensible. And ultimately, we will be legally forced to address it if we don't address it on our own. We're rapidly approaching a situation where municipal managers, mayors, and the directors general of water and sanitation and the minister of water and sanitation will personally face prison terms or fines for failing to address sewage pollution. What change is this summit going to bring? If there is no change, we may as well close the workshop. So we can't gather here and talk and talk. Other journalists are already saying, yeah, it's Minister Mkhunu is convening, oh well, it's another talk shop. And I was looking at this, young people, young journalists, yeah, so I'm a laughing stock now. There's another talk shop. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't call the people. They listen, this is a different summit, this one. Yes, we are going to talk because we can't come here and sing. But the issue is, what is it that we are going to say and come out with here? And I'm saying you need to watch the space by the time we end this workshop. It is no usual talk shop, this one. You will soon find out. The answers that we come up with at this summit cannot be business as usual. The summit has been structured with this objective in mind. The groups of municipalities whose drinking water and wastewater systems are generally in a poor or critical category. And there are 38 water service authorities that are in the poor category. 38. Now what you must be asking yourself, which Director General will soon tell you about, is you, with your name and surname, which municipality are you presiding over? May I remind you, when you came here, whether you flew, you drove, and so on, it is at public expense. And when you go back to your municipality, you are respected as citizen number one there. And you are respected. But look at what you are respected for, which Director General will tell you. He will tell you that you are presiding over a municipality whose water and sanitation services are regarded as poor. So, in other words, you are a poor mayor. You are causing Minister Gauteng to be a poor minister. And you are causing us to be poor ministers. And therefore you are causing the whole country to be a poor country in terms of water and sanitation governance. No, this is too much damage just by yourself. It's too much. Too much. And then there are 67 of those water service authorities that the Director General will categorize as West. West. And they will be called out. The only thing we didn't say, we didn't have time to say municipality so and so, and then mayor there. It would have been good if we did so that you know. But it will be very close to that. Now, the questions therefore are the current governance and institutional arrangements for water and sanitation services working? If they are not working, why do we keep them? Why do you keep systems that are not working? So today is the end of the road today. If you have a system that is not working, we're going to say your system is not working, we're closing it. And therefore open another system that will work. Finish and clear. We can't keep on telling a story to South Africans. We can't keep on saying unless all of us repeated classes when we were in our lower grades. So that you passed on the third year, you passed one grade after 3 years. So we come here, we repeat what we're doing in the older days. It can't work like that. What stops municipalities and all of us from delivering clean, quality water to the people of South Africa? If there is something that stops it, why do we keep it? If there is something that stops you from delivering clean water, this something, why do we keep it? One fundamental change which we need to consider seriously here is to separate Water Service Authority from water service provision. This, among other things, to ensure that institutions like SALCA don't accuse us or any other person of interfering with the Constitution and so on. And fortunately, there's no such challenge here. It is just on performance that we are coming here to deal with. Just performance, finish and clear. Because constitutional authority or legislative authority that you have doesn't cushion you from poor performance. And we must separate the two. So you are not going to use that and say, I will then continue. It's like a teacher who doesn't teach, but say the name is a teacher, but doesn't teach, or all children fail. Now, this is so that we institutionalize, we professionalize water management. If there is time that has come to South Africa, it is time to do this. Professionalize and properly manage water services in the country. We've also invited organizations that play a critical role in supporting municipalities. And apart from DWS, these include professional bodies, training organizations, municipal infrastructure support agency, water boards, national and provincial treasury, national and provincial departments of COCTA, and traditional affairs. Collectively, these organizations offer municipalities a wide range of support relating to funding, capacity building, professionalization, engineering, financial management, and governance. We ask that these organizations continue to support municipalities as they strive to deliver clean water and safe sanitation services. And in closing, we wish this summit honest and clean deliberations. Thank you.
Once again, let's give Macingwane another round of applause. The future of our country lies with the brains that are here. And this generation can make a choice to fail our people. But you don't have an option. You don't have an option like the minister has spoken. Menage, while Minister Mchunu and Minister Nkadimeng volunteers to support you, I want to be on the other side, Macingwane, just to say pollution must stop. The pollution of our environment and rivers must stop now. And if it can't stop, Minister, let's prosecute people. Let's prosecute them. It's a violation of human rights. Mina ngifuna ukuhamba phambili ngihambe namaphoyisa ngithi lo meya lo nalo MM lo siphathe ne-evidence yabo. It must stop. It must stop. You know, there was a writer, before we call Minister Nkadimeng, there was a writer around this same subject who once said, and those words, they remain profound and timeless even today. The writer once wrote and said, a drop of water, if it could write its own history, it will explain the universe to us. Uyabona ke labantu Macingwane who normally does the breaching of the sewer, and sometimes the industries that pollute our water, Comrade Chair Mashiko, they think this thing you can hide it because they do it at night. But ultimately that drop will flow and flow all over the universe. At a particular point, that drops will arrive at your lips. And when it arrives at your lips, it will tell the story of the universe, how exploited it has been. You know, water, those who know water, they say it's a finite resource. There's no additional water. Every drop that you waste, someone is looking for that drop somewhere else. Because that drop, it brings life, it brings justice, it brings development. At this stage, let's welcome with a round of applause Her Excellency, our Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs in the Republic, Comrade Thembi Nkadimeng.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I stand on all the protocols and greetings. You can see there's a huge difference between Minister Mchunu and myself. Of course, I'm referring to who uses paper and an iPad. So you can decide who's BBT and who is not. It does say sometimes looks and age deceives. So he gets the crown of having moved technologically. I get the crown, wooden one, of being BBT. Minister Mchunu Macingwane, nami nginaso isithakazelo ngomagutsho ngompembe lokuthiwa yekela labo dumela. But you must find comfort that there was a day where I couldn't say Sibatachum. And when I said it, I didn't know what it means. Deputy Minister Mahlobo, Deputy Minister Shabalala, Deputy Minister Tau, President of SALGA, the chairperson of our portfolio, Water and Sanitation, Mr. Mashiko, our executive mayors and mayors present here, Director General, CEOs, environmentalists, water service authorities and boards, sanitation and water experts, head of departments, municipal managers, CEOs, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Allow me to express my gratitude for the opportunity given on behalf of COGTA to come and share our experiences as well as we work together and oversee the huge responsibilities of ensuring that we grant the right to water to all our citizens. Our discussions today and tomorrow will highlight the significance of water. Program Director has already started and Makungwane has cemented what we usually refer as a mere resource, but it is a critical one. We need to look, all of us, holistically into the importance of why we should provide water and suitable potable water, both primarily for the economy and possibly secondary or whatever for the light of life as enshrined in our constitution, as it is for the survival and the well-being of our households and our citizens. And the chapter 2 of our constitution and the Bill of Rights affirms that everyone has a right and needs to have access to food, water, and is embedded in the international statutes of the United Nations. But I think we must also emphasize for each and every municipality the right, and importantly so a right, of women which must be respected. Because when all else fails, is a woman who's supposed to walk into a river and look for water, clean clothes. It's a girl child who's supposed to lose hours of schooling or a schooling opportunity at this day and age under our leadership to go and look for water. In my previous life as a mayor, I used to say every mayor needs to make sure that a provision of basic services is done for on behalf of women, because generally men are our firstborn children, and then we take care for the others. If there's no water, we go to the river. If there's no electricity, we fetch wood. If there's no street lights, we get raped in the process of going there with people who use their weapons of mass destruction. Free basic services is key, and that is why it is legislated by law for the provision and the care of our household. It is given for free, not deliberately, or rather deliberately and intentional to ensure that we carry the poor. So we need to find a balance between giving a service for free and understanding its importance, and not giving that service when you have already legislated that it must be free, and that is why it is free, it's because of its importance. Well, Cabinet accuses me because I am accused to fight on your behalf and give reasons why you are having it difficult to provide services. And in the last meeting, I was told very well that I must take off my cap of being the president of SAG. And I heard you, Makungwane. That charge, you can imagine, was led by Minister Pravin Gordhan. He said, you are still a SAGA president, but not in this room. I understand the limitations. I know them. I've lived them. But I do believe some of them, we live with them every day. Climate change could be one of the reasons, but also in a locked room like ours, we also need to tell one another the truth. We can go a long way. We can be better, not for ourselves, but on behalf of those who are servicing. It's a collective responsibility to accept. Our communities must also take charge and guard their infrastructure, reduce vandalism, report challenges that scrupulous community members fought on, but we carry a responsibility as well of protecting our own assets. I don't understand why we do not put trackers on our pumps. If you go and negotiate as a director of technical services, a tracker instrument will cost you around 167 a month. Collectively, if you do it, possibly you have got over 90 balls. It gets to be reduced to around 87 rand or so a month. So is it really wise for us to report losses of pumps every day with a 6 months turnaround time for a replacement of that pump, when we could just spend 80 rand for it to protect it? I've tried it. It's doable. I've been a mayor before, and I found my pump in Vembe. municipality. Yes, it was stolen by a service provider who sold it to another municipality. And I just went to Vemba, I said, "Ngicela ngokwami, nina senza khuluma nalo nithengisele." I took my pump, in a week's time I had replaced it, took it back, and my community had water. Creativity. But you create walls and you claim that is the legislation. No, we know why. Schedule 4, Part B, gives us and designate the rights. But we cannot force to have a right when we do not want to carry the responsibility of providing services. And Minister Mkhunu has spoken to what is happening currently. Mangaung is the greatest example. Last week or 2 weeks ago, a community has been providing for itself services, collecting waste for a considerable number of years, 2.5 years. And then they decided we're not going to pay you anymore. We're doing this service on our own. What did the municipality do? Took them to court. What did the court say? You failed on your responsibilities. Let it continue. Far-reaching consequences are coming for us. We've got a water example, Gauteng Rivier municipality. Well written about, well recorded. Stories aside, defense aside, what was the community of Gauteng saying to all of us? It was saying, municipality, you are failing to provide us with potable water. Firstly, the community said, we have technicians, engineers living in our society, they will assist you. What did the municipality do? Nicely blocked a partnership. They couldn't maintain the system. They went to court, they lost, the community won, they ran the plant, the municipality wanted their asset back. It was given to them in 14 days after there was again no water. So we are going to be ruled by courts. Never mind. We don't do the right thing. You think Minister Mkhunu is joking? The courts are on the side of the community, ensuring that the constitution lives, and correctly so. I won't go into the statistics Minister Mkhunu spoke about, but our blue drop, green drop, non-revenue water percentages leave much to be desired. Our plans are very silent. I was saying to my COCTA team yesterday, I do not find a reason why we still assess meek and non-spending outside inviting the departments and the sector departments where we place what we are busy with in our municipalities. It is not about the interest of serving people. We've made provision, you know, for repairs and refurbishment, which MEEC was not doing before. We've even extended it to the development of asset management plans. The uptake is very slow, DG Sean Phillips. The uptake is very slow. Municipalities are still planning as if it's normal. And that is why I was saying to my team, jointly we need to sit down and then say, this is what we have in the... It's so difficult to motivate for additional money for municipalities. We all know 9%, 9.9, that the fiscus allocators is minimum. But what did we take back in the last financial year? 1 billion back into the fiscus. Billion, not million. Billion back into the fiscus. So all of us collectively here said to our residents, we will not give you water. We will not do your roads. We will take the money back into the fiscus. We are 28% versus at least the 60 that we should be at as we concluded year 2023. So I'm looking for more return into the fiscus rather than the services that we should. What are the opportunities that we have and we don't really utilize them? I still do not understand. If we know as municipalities, as COCTA, provincial and national, if treatment of, for example, chemicals are required to treat a plant on a day-to-day basis, as you best know, why are we not having a long-term partnership with a private company? Why don't we establish a local municipal-owned entity that manufactures chemicals and we go there and source at the rate, create our own value chain? Hayi sazopetcha ama potholes. Hayi bakoni ningadlali ngami. No, we just need agility and innovation in how we respond to the issues that we are facing. They are not insurmountable. So we want to say with all the level of education, when our mothers could sell tomatoes and provide and produce medical practitioners with nothing in their hands, but they knew that there's school fees, I need to buy a candle for my son to study, I need to find a way, even if it means I must ask as a domestic worker, who can take me to the door of what is called an institution of higher learning, and I've never been to it before, and produce us in this room. And we sit in this room today on their efforts and say, we won't give you water. It's so bad. We need to practicalize this thing. They are so embedded in how our forebears are being failed by a nation that they have produced. I've never seen it, even in the animal kingdom, where we think thinking is less or minimal. They do not. They protect their territories. They protect their children. They protect their women. You go to Hague, you kill one another. I mean, I just don't understand how on earth we can be so bad that we can't even think about it. Research institutions, we don't put them amongst ourselves. We don't bring them in. We don't plan. We don't align. We've got Section 78. Municipalities don't want to use them. I still don't understand why we talk about capacity. If you look into the process controllers, almost all of us in this room with the treatment works that we are running and plants, we are underqualified personnel. Why are we not having adequate programs to plan, even when we are saying utilize a portion of the money and the grant that you are given to develop your capacity? Councillor Mashiko will tell you in his time that was not there. But today we have got no explanation. Suffice to say that we do not want to make a change. So I would want to see municipalities sitting together. Regional schemes must really be regional schemes so that you could be able to work with the neighboring municipality, combine your budget, and make sure that the impact is huge. But you don't want to do that. I know why you don't want to do that. Limited best practices. Others, I've never heard of a municipal trip which goes to another municipality. Nonke near China, angazi nefudan. But let me end there. Let me conclude, Minister. Let me conclude, Deputy Minister Matlobo, and say, we have also allowed MIC on leveraging of data management, and we hope that will give and take another municipality to another, but also manage what we are having. Minister Mkhunu might be very not displaying the truth of what we found in Rooival. Even a data management system was not there. Forget about whether the plant manager qualifies or not. It doesn't qualify. We've passed there already. And it's not a name and shape. It's a structure in the process of the system, of the municipality, which also does not support and is not planned properly. So monitoring and evaluation of our programs and systems is very important. This platform is about addressing and shedding more light into what we are supposed to do and deal with the critical questions and the way forward of how are we going to run municipalities. Otherwise, the court are just behind us. Thank you very much, Jantan.
Comrade Sean, before I call you DG, you made an omission today. We should have brought SAPS here to be around. There are many of these people that are here that we've given them directive after directive. They don't change. They continue. You could see one of the biggest problem, Minister Nkadimeng and Minister Macingwane, is the problem of leadership. Leaders who don't want to rise to the occasion. Leaders who make a decision not to do anything. You know, not to do anything is a decision itself. And they are all here today. Namuhla ke Macingwane ungabheki phansi ubajonge emehlweni ngiyababona omeya bala. Today leaders are drinking water from the bottled water. We should be embarrassed. If you can't trust your own water to drink from the tap, what message are you sending in terms of confidence level? Ekurhuleni, they will give us an example today. Tomorrow, I don't want you to see all these bottles here. I don't want to see them. You must drink the water from your tap yourselves. Bathi ke ngesintu sakithi ne sisithembi bathi ukhipha ubuthi Macingwane. Ngaphambi kube banathe labantu banathe amanzi funani wanathe kuqala nina. Before they can drink the water, you must lead from the front and say the water indeed is safe to drink. And some of our people don't even have money to buy this bottled water. And our actions as leaders, they've made the black market in water to thrive. There are many who are selling water. And that water, we can't account for it. The biggest problem is leaders, and leaders must take charge. And if we can't do, sisheshele mrawo. The issue of mediocrity, it can't work. We all look bad now. DG, come and give how ugly we look. Because indeed we're ugly. And how we've chosen not to make any decisions by not actually attending to these issues. Let's allow Dr. Phillips, our DG, to come and share in brief. And then while we are enjoying it for the last time, having bottled water in the water meetings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Good morning. All protocol observed. Before I start the presentation, I would just like to say that the presentation is going to be emailed to all the participants. My presentation is going to summarize the results for the Blue, Green and No Drop reports that we issued in December last year. Just to introduce it and to recap, I'm sure all of you know this, but just to recap, the Green Drop report focuses on the state of wastewater treatment systems. The Blue Drop report focuses on the state of drinking water systems. And both of these reports cover a variety of factors, including the condition of the infrastructure, whether the required maintenance is being carried out on the infrastructure, whether the infrastructure is operated correctly, whether the proper treatment processes are being followed, whether proper monitoring and controls are in place, and whether sufficient staff with the required qualifications are in place. The No Drop report focuses on the efficiency of use of water by municipalities. And that also covers a variety of aspects, including the amount of water that is lost through physical losses, the level of non-revenue water, the average amount of water used per capita per day, whether the infrastructure is being maintained properly to minimize wastage, and the existence of plans and strategies to reduce water losses, and the effectiveness of metering, billing, and revenue collection systems. DWS carries out these drop assessments in its role as the regulator of the water sector, as it has been appointed in terms of the National Water Act and in terms of the Water Services Act. And as the regulator, as the Minister has indicated, DWS has both a constitutional and a legislative duty to ensure that national norms and standards are met for water services. We have 5 aims in doing these drop reports. Firstly, the overall and the most important aim is that we want the drop reports to contribute to the improvement of municipal drinking water quality, the management of drinking water systems and the management of wastewater systems, and to improve water conservation and demand management. Also, very importantly, we have a duty to keep the public and stakeholders informed and updated with credible data and information about the state of water and sanitation services in the country. And then thirdly, the drop reports also act as an incentive mechanism. Part of the drop report process is to issue certificates, green and blue drop and no drop certificates, to the best performing municipalities. And it's therefore an incentive-based regulatory mechanism. And we've seen in practice that it's a very powerful incentive mechanism. We've seen that many municipal officials compete intensely to win these green and blue drop and no drop assessments. Fourthly, the no drop assessments assist us to provide us with the necessary information that we need to inform the regulatory actions that we have to take where there's non-adherence to standards. And also, that information is also useful to inform organizations involved in supporting municipalities as to where that report should be focused. And then perhaps most importantly is that the assessments don't just identify what is wrong, they also identify the causes of what is wrong, and they also include recommendations for what should be done to address those causes. So, and in that respect, they're a very important support mechanism to municipalities, because they advise municipalities as to what are the key issues that need to be addressed to improve the blue, green, and no drop scores. Because the assessments are so comprehensive and are so detailed, it's too much to do them every year. We do a full assessment every 2 years, and in the years in between, we do an interim report. So in 2022, we released the full green drop report. In December last year, we released the full blue drop report and the full no drop report, along with the green drop progress report. This slide just provides a graphic of those processes for producing the full reports and the progress reports. Now to turn to the details. Firstly, I'm going to talk about summarizing the results of the 2023 full blue drop report. We audited all 144 water services authorities during the period 1 July 2021 to 30 June 2022. And that included 958 different water supply systems. It also included the parts of the water supply systems which are managed by the water boards. Each water services authority and water board was requested to provide information on their performance against all the blue drop criteria. We trained all the officials in the water services authorities and in the water boards on the criteria on the audit process to be followed. We also carried out on-site assessments to verify the information that was provided by the WSAs and by the water boards. We then had sessions with all the water services authorities officials to clarify any anomalies we found in the data that had been submitted. And finally, before we published the results, we had sessions with all the WSAs and water boards to give feedback on the results, to give WSAs and water boards a chance to contest the results where they thought we'd made mistakes, and also to provide information on what are the causes of the results and what should be done to improve performance. This slide shows the number of water services authorities and the number of water supply systems and the number of water treatment works which were audited per province. This slide shows the different key performance areas that were covered in the Blue Drop assessment and how these were weighted. And you can see from the slide, as I indicated earlier, that it covers a wide range of performance areas, including infrastructural issues, skills issues, process control issues, whether testing is done, etc. On the basis of that, we were able to produce a score per water supply system and then a score per water services authority. And we categorize these scores as if the score is between 95 and 100%, it's excellent. Between 80 and 95%, it's good. Between 50 and 80%, it's average. Between 31 and 50%, it's poor. And between 0 and 31 is a critical it means that the water supply system is in a critical state requiring urgent intervention. Turning to the results, this slide shows the results, comparing the results from the last time the Blue Drop report was done in 2014 to this report, which was produced in 2023. It shows for each province the number of systems and the percentage of each systems in each of the categories. On the left-hand side, from where you're looking at it, is the 2014 results, and on the right-hand side is the 2023 results. So, for example, if you look at the first row, you can see that 31 of the water supply systems in the Eastern Cape were in a critical condition in the 2014 Blue Drop assessment, and that improved to 27 or 18% in the 2023 assessment, whereas if you look at the Northern Cape, for example, down here, you can see that in 2024, 34% of their systems were in a critical condition, but in the recent assessment, that has worsened to 70% of their water supply systems being in a critical state of performance. Some key findings which this table tells us is firstly that 26 water supply systems scored more than 95% and qualified for the prestigious Blue Drop certification, whereas in 2014, 44 water supply systems had obtained that certification. That means that between 2014 and 2023, there's been a reduction in the number of water supply systems that obtained the Blue Drop certification. Secondly, in this recent 2023 Blue Drop assessment, 29% of water supply systems were found to be in a critical state of performance, compared with 17% of water supply systems in 2014. And that indicates that there's been an increase in the number of systems in a critical state of performance between 2014 and 2023. It should be noted, however, that drinking water systems in the major metropolitan areas are generally performing relatively well in terms of the Blue Drop key performance areas. And Gauteng has the highest percentage of drinking water systems with excellent or good performance at 62%, followed by the Western Cape at 50%. Northern Cape has the highest percentage of drinking water systems with poor or critical performance, and this has deteriorated since 2014. The percentage of water systems with poor or critical performance in Free State has also deteriorated markedly from 2014, from 31% being in a poor or critical performance in 2014 to now 59% in a poor or critical state of performance. This slide shows the number of water supply systems in a critical state of performance per province in 2014 and 2023. So if we look at those two worst performing provinces, for example, you can see in the Northern Cape it has increased from 34 water supply systems in a critical state to 123. And in Free State, it has increased from 5 in a critical state of performance to 31. This shows the similar data in pie charts. Looking at it on a map, the map shows the Blue Drop scores by these categories, with red being where the overall score for the WSA is critical, and yellow being where it's poor. And you can see from the map that a large geographical area of the country is has on average water supply systems in either a critical state or a very poor state. Turning to the particular findings regarding drinking water quality, and these findings were based on the results of drinking water quality tests which the municipalities carry out themselves, which they provided to us during the 21-22 municipal financial year. What we found is that with regard to microbiological water quality compliance, 54% of the systems achieved excellent or good microbiological water quality compliance, and 46% of the systems achieved poor or bad microbiological water compliance. In 2014, only 5% of systems scored poor or bad microbiological water quality compliance. This is nationally, the national figures. In terms of chemical water quality compliance, 76% of the systems achieved excellent or good, and 24% of the systems achieved unacceptable chemical water quality compliance, which is a deterioration from 15% in 2014. So these results indicate a severe regression between 2014 and 2023, especially with regard to microbiological water quality compliance. Some of the WSAs failed to provide us with information with the results of their water quality tests, which alarmed us. We immediately asked those municipalities why. They gave some gave reasons such as that they're busy in the process of appointing laboratories. But others did then give us results of their testing, but we requested all those municipalities to immediately inform their residents if they're not currently carrying out testing as they're required to do so, because it could provide a health risk to the residents. This slide shows the microbiological compliance and chemical compliance in a graphical format. What are the implications of these findings with regard to drinking water quality? Firstly, we have South African National Bureau of Standards for Drinking Water Quality, SANS 241, which in turn is informed by World Health Organization standards for drinking water. And according to those standards, it's not safe to drink your drinking water, the water coming out the tap, if less than 97% of the tests for microbiological contaminants and chemical compliance conducted over a year comply with water quality standards. And that equates to our poor or bad ratings. That means that it was therefore not microbiologically safe to drink the water in almost half, or 46% of our drinking water systems at times during the 21-22 financial year. And that in turn resulted in increased risk of life-threatening waterborne diseases such as cholera and chronic diarrhea. Very importantly is that one of the requirements of the Bureau of Standards and the norms and standards issued by DWS in terms of the Water Services Act is that if a municipality is testing its water and finding that the water doesn't meet the standard, it has an obligation, a legal obligation, to immediately inform its residents that the water is no longer meeting the standard and that it may be unsafe to drink. However, our results showed, as you will see in the presentations and the group work, the Blue Drop results showed that many municipalities are failing to inform their residents when their own tests indicate that the drinking water is no longer meeting minimum standards. We are frequently asked as the national department whether the question is it safe to drink the water coming out of the tap? And is it safe to drink the water coming out of the tap in this particular area or that particular area? The only honest answer we can give to the public when we ask that question is that residents of municipalities must ask their municipalities that question, because it depends on the current test results being carried out by the municipalities. The test results can change quickly. If, for example, there's a fault at the water treatment works, that can result in a deterioration of the test results. So it's the responsibility of municipalities to inform residents of the quality of the drinking water, whether it's safe to drink, and if there's any deterioration in drinking water quality. The results with regard to drinking water infrastructure condition are interesting. What we found is that 3% of the infrastructure is in a critical condition, 12% in a poor condition, 49% in an average condition, 31% in a good condition, and 5% in an excellent condition. That means that 85% of drinking water systems at municipal level are on an average or better infrastructure condition. That's very interesting, because quite often people think that the key problem is an infrastructure problem with regard to drinking water quality and drinking water issues. But this finding that 85% of the drinking water infrastructure is in an average condition or better indicates that perhaps non-infrastructure factors such as a lack of skilled staff, the staff shortages, or lack of proper process controls for the treatment processes for the drinking water are as important, if not more important, as a determinant of drinking water quality. Interestingly, again, is that when you look at the Green Drop report, the Green Drop report's findings with regard to the condition of infrastructure are much worse. We found on average that only 44% of wastewater infrastructure is in an average condition or worse. So the findings are telling us that wastewater infrastructure in particular is in a much worse condition on average across the country than drinking water infrastructure. Which means, in turn, indicates that there seems to be a particular reluctance from municipal councils to prioritize budgeting for the maintenance of wastewater infrastructure in particular. This slide is also very interesting. It shows the shortages of some key skills required for drinking water systems, focusing particularly on process controllers and supervisors. These are regulated skills. In terms of the norms and standards that we issue as DWS, there are minimum qualification requirements for process controllers, and there are minimum numbers of certified process controllers that municipalities must have, depending on how many water treatment works they have and the size of their water treatment works. So what this slide shows is per province, the number of staff that should be there in the province. So, for example, for the Eastern Cape, for the first one, we've calculated, based on the number of water treatment works that are there, that there should be 700 certified process controllers and 276 qualified supervisors. But there are only 293 process controllers in the Eastern Cape, meaning that there's a shortfall of 58% of the required process controllers in the Eastern Cape. But of particular interest is if you look at the two provinces which scored the best on average for their drinking water systems in the Blue Drop assessment, and the worst, which is Gauteng. Remember I said that Gauteng was the province with the highest percentage of drinking water systems with excellent or good infrastructure. They also have the smallest shortage of qualified process controllers. And the province with the highest percentage of drinking water systems with a poor or critical performance also has the highest shortage of certified process controllers, which is another strong indication that this issue of skills is a major factor in the performance of drinking water systems in the country. Turning to the no-drop results. The no-drop assessment covers the levels of physical water losses, for example, through the leaks in pipes, the levels of non-revenue water, the amount of water used per capita per day, whether infrastructure is being maintained properly to minimize wastage, the existence of plans and strategies to reduce water losses, and the effectiveness of metering, billing, and revenue collection systems. Again, we went through a similar process, doing the audit with all the water services authorities during the 21-22 municipal financial year, with training of the WSAs on the scope and the criteria for the audit, and verification of the information provided to the department. Just in terms of definitions, non-revenue water is treated water that is bought or produced by the municipality, for which the municipality gets no revenue. And non-revenue water has a number of components, including physical losses, poorly functioning or non-existent water meters, illegal connections, and another cause of non-revenue water is poor billing and revenue collection. Why do we focus on it? Why is it such a big problem? For 4 key reasons. Firstly, we spend a huge amount of money developing dams to capture and store raw water, and to develop and operate water treatment works to treat the water. This money is wasted if that water is thrown away through leaks. So, for example, we are about to start a major project to build a huge new dam called the Umkomazi Dam in KwaZulu-Natal to provide additional water to eThekwini and surrounding municipalities. That project is estimated to cost in excess of 26 billion rand. Umgeni Utugela Water Board will have to build additional treatment capacity to treat that water as well. However, eThekwini's non-revenue water is currently 58%, and its physical losses are currently 45%. That means that 45% of the water that we will have spent more than almost 30 billion rand on providing will immediately just be put into the ground by the municipality. In addition, many municipalities buy treated water from the water boards. If municipalities don't get revenue from that water, then they can't pay the water boards. And if they can't pay the water boards, then the water boards go bankrupt and they can no longer provide treated water. If municipalities don't collect the revenue they're supposed to collect, then they can't afford to maintain and operate the infrastructure. And furthermore, we're a water-scarce country, and every drop counts. As our population grows, as our economy grows, this is going to become more acute, and climate change might impact that further. The challenges associated with water scarcity. We simply can't afford to throw away 30 or 40% of our water through losses. The findings of the no-drop report: only 4 out of the 144 water services authorities scored more than 90% for the no-drop report and obtained the no-drop certification certificate. In 2014, 44 water services authorities obtained the no-drop status. That means that there's been an overall decline in excellence between 2014 and 2023. Another key finding is that non-revenue water has increased from 37% in 2014 to 47% in 2023. The international average or norm for non-revenue water is 30%. In terms of water consumption per capita per day, we found that on average, South Africans use 218 litres per capita per day, whereas the international average is 173 litres per capita per day. We are a water-scarce country. It's an anomaly that we use much higher than the international average in terms of litres used per capita per day. But one of the reasons why our consumption per capita per day is so high is because it includes the water that is lost through leaks by municipalities. What do we need to do to reduce non-revenue water? We need to improve the operation and maintenance of the infrastructure, repair leaks, improve metering, improve billing and revenue collection and data management, improve pressure management, and engage in community education and awareness, amongst other measures. So this map shows the no-drop results, and again, those WSAs whose scores indicated that from a no-drop perspective, they're in a critical state of performance or a poor state of performance, are the reds or the yellows, which again you can see is a large part of the geographical area of the country. This slide is quite shocking in that it shows the WSAs with non-revenue water higher than the international norm of 30%, which is, as you can see from the map, is almost the whole country. Also on the right, it shows the average non-revenue water per province, and you can see from there that KZN is the highest non-revenue water, and the Western Cape is the lowest non-revenue water. One of the points of interest here is that the high levels of non-revenue water, including physical losses in Gauteng and in KwaZulu-Natal, are one of the reasons for the water supply disruptions that have been experienced in those two provinces recently. This map shows the average litres per capita per day usage. Again, you can see that the highest litres per capita per day is Gauteng, with 275 litres per capita per day, and the lowest is the Western Cape. And again, this very high water consumption in Gauteng is one of the reasons why the demand for treated water in Gauteng is occasionally exceeding the available supply, which is one of the reasons why we've been having supply disruptions in municipalities in Gauteng recently. Of interest as well is that the low average consumption per capita per day in the Western Cape might be related to the fact that the city of Cape Town had an effective water conservation and demand management program in order to avoid day zero, and that seems to have sustainably reduced average water consumption levels in the metropolitan area of Cape Town. Turning to the green drop results. For the green drop progress report, we focused particularly on wastewater treatment works, and we looked at all the municipal wastewater treatment works. And we assessed each wastewater treatment works and whether the plant has the capacity to process the amount of sewage going into it, whether the wastewater treatment works has the required staff with the necessary qualifications and experience to properly operate and maintain the plants, and whether the plants meet the statutory requirements for the quality of the effluent coming out of them. And each plant was categorized in terms of the risk that it poses, in terms of the risk of putting either untreated or partially treated sewage into the environment. So the key results overall nationally was that only 9% of wastewater treatment works on a low risk category, 25% on a medium risk category, 34% in a high risk category, and 32% in the critical risk category. It's the high risk category and the critical risk category that we're most concerned about, because the wastewater treatment works in these two categories, which is 2/3 of wastewater treatment works in the country, are on a daily basis putting wastewater into the rivers, which is either partially treated or not treated at all. And the implications of that are dire, potentially, in terms of human health. We know that cholera outbreaks are normally associated with water sources which are polluted by sewage. It also increases the cost of water treatment. Once the partially treated or raw sewage is put into the river, that same water is often drawn out of the river further downstream by other municipalities to be treated for drinking water for people. And the fact that it's so highly polluted increases the cost of treatment. As I indicated, we produced the full Blue Drop report in 2022, a year ago. This report a year later indicates that there hasn't been any improvement since we released the full Green Drop report a year ago. So this slide also shows the trends over the last 10 or 15 years, and you can see the blue graph shows the numbers of wastewater treatment works in the low-risk category, and you can show how the numbers have decreased in the low-risk category between 2009 and 2023. Whereas if you look at the right-hand side of the graph, you can see that the numbers of wastewater treatment works in the high-risk category, the critical and high-risk categories, have increased sharply over the same period. So as I've indicated, the results indicated that there has not been an improvement over the past year. This graphic just shows the findings by province. So what needs to be done to address the blue, green, and no drop results? Firstly, in order to determine what needs to be done, we need to assess what are the causes of poor performance. And the results indicate that there's two key main causes of poor performance. The first is non-adherence to standard operating processes for drinking water treatment and wastewater treatment and the related testing. The second is infrastructure being in a poor condition due to a lack of maintenance, and that's particularly the case for wastewater infrastructure. Behind those two key causes are further underlying causes. And the results are clearly indicating that municipalities having staff shortages of the key required skills like process controllers is a major cause of poor performance. It's also clear that there's insufficient prioritization of budgets for maintenance and operation by the poorly performing municipalities. And the high levels of non-revenue water are an indication of weaknesses with billing and revenue collection. Of course, we're all aware that vandalism and metal theft of infrastructure are an increasing cause of infrastructure failure across the country, but this is partly a result of inadequate security being provided by municipalities. Of course, one of the main things that needs to be done is for the national government to implement its constitutional responsibility to support municipalities. And in that regard, DWS is offering support to all the WSAs to develop the action plans that they're required to address, to address the blue, green, and no drop reports. Our minister and deputy ministers spend most of their time crisscrossing the country, visiting municipalities, agreeing on improvement plans with the municipalities, which are then supported by DWS and by the water boards. We also work closely with COGTA, MISA, Department of Human Settlements and National Treasury to provide other types of support to municipalities, including infrastructure grants for water and sanitation worth more than 20 billion per annum, technical and engineering support and assistance, capacity building and training, and financial management advice and support. But over and above these support areas, there are improvements, there are additional things that could be done from a support perspective. One of those is that this large amount of grants which is given to municipalities could be used more cleverly to incentivize improvements in green drop, blue drop, and no drop reports. And we're going to be working with COGTA, DHS, and National Treasury in that regard. We also need to ensure that our water boards have the necessary capacity to provide support to municipalities, including providing a retail water services provider function if requested to do so. And the results which have come through clearly about the implications of having staff shortages in critical areas like process controllers indicates that support organizations should focus on that issue in particular in assisting municipality to address this issue of shortages of certified process controllers. And in our assessment, this doesn't necessarily mean that municipalities need to hire more staff and increase their personnel expenditure. In our estimate, at least half the current shortage could be addressed by training of existing staff to enable them to be certified rather than hiring new staff. but there are limits to the impact of the support that national government provides to municipalities. We have been providing all the support that I've been talking about since 2014, and over that period there's been a decline in performance, which indicates that the support alone isn't sufficient to address the problem. In those cases where the leadership of the municipality is not responding to directives or not listening to advice or not accepting support, performance can only be improved by addressing the leadership challenges. The main cause of the decline in water services is poor maintenance and operation by municipalities. And maintenance and operation has to be funded by revenue from the sale of water by municipalities to customers. In terms of the current fiscal framework and the Treasury regulations and the conditions on the grants, DWS and COGTA are not allowed to provide funding to municipalities for maintenance and operations. The grants are to address infrastructure backlogs. DWS and COGTA are repeatedly providing municipalities with grants to repair infrastructure, which is then not maintained by the municipalities, deteriorates again, and then funding needs to be provided yet again. A national government cannot make decisions to prioritize maintenance and operation funding on behalf of municipalities. Those decisions must be made by the municipal councils themselves. And furthermore, national government cannot hire staff on behalf of municipalities. The municipalities must prioritize the filling of positions with appropriately qualified staff and budget for this from revenue. Deputy Minister, that brings me to the end of the presentation on the drop results, but before leaving the stage, I'd just like to briefly tell everybody about how the municipalities have been grouped for the purposes of the summit for when we go into the group working sessions. The municipalities have been grouped into 4 groups, and when you came in, each municipality should have been informed which group you're in. If anyone is not sure, the people sitting outside can assist you to identify which group your particular municipality is in. Group 1 will remain here in the assembly room when we break up for the group work. And that consists of the 67 municipalities which scored critical on average across their water supply systems and or wastewater systems. Group 2 will go to the Fabia Room 1, and that consists of the 38 municipalities which scored poor on average across their water supply systems and or wastewater systems. Group 3 will go to Fabia 2, and that consists of the 27 municipalities which scored on average across their water supply systems and or wastewater systems. And Group 4 consists of which will go to the Julia Room, consists of the 12 municipalities which scored either excellent or good on average for either drinking water or wastewater. In the groups, the group work will start with a presentation by DWS analyzing the blue, green and no drop reports for that particular group and putting initial recommendations on the table as to what should be done to address the causes of poor performance for that particular group. The groups will then deliberate on those presentations and provide inputs, and then when we come back tomorrow, revised presentations will be made to the plenary for discussion and further inputs by plenary. And this is the agenda. These will be given out when we go to the group works, but this is the agenda for each group as I've just described. Thank you, DM.
Okay, nitsafukushaya izandla ne, because that's how we look. I wish all of you understand Mandarin, but I will do a translation. That those of us who are bequeathed with an opportunity to lead, we must breathe the same breath with the society we lead. I hope you understand. Leaders must breathe the same breath with the society they lead. After the presentation by DG Phillips, It's time for all of us as leaders to look ourselves into the mirror. Can we look ourselves in the mirror? Take off our clothes and take a bath. We're smelling. We don't smell good about how we've allowed certain things to deteriorate. After taking a bath, we must put our ointment. In the meeting where we are going, where the DG says we'll go, now we've looked at ourselves in the mirror, how Macingwane and Kadiming have addressed you. Now you know how we look as a sector. Now we need a restart, a rejuvenation and a renewal. For you to start afresh, you must sound fresh and look fresh and feel fresh. Please take a bath as leaders. And take a bath. After taking a bath, so that you can look well from tomorrow, with a clear commitment in terms of concrete actions, put an ointment, look fresh, look nourished, so that you can be up to the task. In future, if I'm a citizen in one ward, here in Pretoria and also in Mpumalanga, I will always demand that my mayors must drink the water before we drink. Probably we must demand that the Minister of Water, Cocta, the deputy ministers, they too, they must drink the water we drink. And it will change our attitude. At this stage, very briefly, we have asked the city of Ekurhuleni. They have tried a number of things, they have improved on a number of fronts. The issues of water use efficiency. There is a case study you can look because the leaders there, they made decisions. And some of the decisions are yielding the results. They might not have arrived at the destination, but you could see that each step they take every day and every action they take, there is a promise that ultimately our people, they too under the sun, they will no longer be seeking safe sanitation. And under the sun, they will have an opportunity to have safe drinking water, including access to economic benefits. We'll want to ask the executive mayor of the city of Ekurhuleni, Councillor Sivuyile Ngodwana, to come with, to introduce, I don't know whether is it MM, but protocol-wise, I must give the head of the municipality, the executive mayor, to come and introduce the matter. The executive mayor, manje yini nibe nomona ne, anibashayela itandla ne. Ngiyanibona ne.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Deputy Minister Mahlobo.
Maybe let me indicate the executive mayor is joining us after lunch. He has allowed his technical team to make a presentation. Because the other mayors, bazothi simkhetheni leya mayor ngoba sasingekho kwi-inauguration yabo. You can make your presentation.
Thank you very much, Program Director. That's quite a relief. Honorable Minister of Water Affairs, Mr. Mkhunu, Honorable Minister of Cooperative Governance and International Affairs, Minister Karimeng, Deputy Minister Mahlobo.
All protocol observed.
I'll be very short, Deputy Minister, rest assured, but I must also acknowledge my seniors that are here. Former MMC, Robert Mashiko, special recognition. Mayor Mzimkulu, special recognition. He was my MMC. Thank you. I'm gonna go straight to the presentation. My name is Chogozan Masego, Head of Department for Water and Sanitation. This presentation was supposed to be made by the chairperson of the Non-Revenue Water Committee, Madam Bali Matiwane, due to bereavement, she couldn't join us. And also special acknowledgement to my strategic partners, Chairperson of Friend Water and CEO, Mr. Mosiwa, and the CEO in his absentia. And that is very important because we work this journey together. Our success is their success due to the partnerships that we have. DG and DDG's Dr. Mate and Mr. Zwane also. Going straight to the presentation is going to be shared. Then basically, I'm going to go to important matters. Basically, we look at our journey to say that if you look at 2013, our non-revenue water was a little bit above 40%, but currently we're sitting at 2020, as end of December 2024, we're sitting at about 28%. And you could see there that there's been a drastic improvement from 2014-15 to 36, 16-17 to 34.7, and 18-19, 32. And as I'm saying, as we go through the presentation. This shows you the journey of where we were from 2015 to 2023. And you can see the drastic improvement in terms of the drop. We're going to go more into detail with those results. Basically, the non-revenue water action plan that we implemented, it included the billing integrity, leak repairs, and also we ensure that we analyze the system input volumes. The non-revenue water action plan, before just I continue that one, we look at meter replacement. We ensure that the valves are managed, especially the PRVs, the pressure management. And pressure management, Minister, is one of the low-hanging keys. When you invest in pressure management, you get the results without spending a lot of capital, and you get very much a good improvement in terms of your system. The non-revenue water action plan, I just want to put the institutional overview because it's important to understand it. When the Auditor General issued the audit report, it's tabled by Auditor General at Council. When it's tabled at Council, Council refer it to Water and Energy Oversight Committee. From there, through the Office of the City Manager, Dr. Mashazi, there's Operation Clean Audit, we call it OPCA. The Operation Clean Audit is when the departments must table now in terms of their action plan. You know, with us, we look at our water demand and conservation management strategy to say what are the actions that are going to be implemented by the department. And those actions, they then also be monitored by internal audit. That report to audit committee. And Operation Clean Audit, they report to the risk management committee, of which they also report to council. Then internally in the department, we have a non-revenue water committee that is chaired by Madam Matiwane, that all senior management, they report in that committee. And each and everyone, whether you're in operation, you've got a role to play. Whether you are in planning, you've got a role to play in terms of prioritizing assets that are going to reduce non-revenue water. The ones in capital projects, there are projects that are strictly aligned and budget that is dedicated to address the issues of non-revenue water. So everybody plays the role, and we ensure it's continuous because on quarterly basis, we report to the audit committee, we report also to the risk management committee, of which those reports, they go to council. So it's not something that we do it by the way. It's something that is integrated in the management of the institution and also in the accountability structures of the institution. So we also do stakeholder management. That's why I acknowledge Rand Water and education and awareness as a city. So this is one of the example of the implementation plan of the pressure management. We've got many zones that we've chosen, but this is one of the zones. You can see there that before we did nothing, our night flows, they were very high. They were more than 60 bars, you know, meaning that we're losing. When everybody was asleep, we're losing a lot of water. But through the implementation of pressure management program, then we reduce from 60 bar to 40 bar. So you can see the results that we're showing you, we get it from one of these projects that we implemented in terms of our action plan. And also we indicate here in terms of the age meters that when we started, we had a high number of age meters. Then we implemented meter replacement program, and then we've reducing to ensure that our billing is accurate, and also we do not lose water through age meters in the billing system. And also, part of our action plan was to resolve the challenges of aging infrastructure. And during the pressure management also, we also trace and identify non-visible leaks, to say that in this zone we've got high losses, then we trace non-visible leaks. And I must say, Minister Guti, for this, we as a city, we paid no cent. We've got a revenue enhancement project where we invite companies, service providers to bid. And based on the savings that we achieve, then they get paid. So there is no capital that we have to put or operational cost. So we achieve this through non-revenue enhancement without us as a city having to budget for it, because you're rewarded with the savings that you achieve. So it has worked for us as the city of Ekurhuleni. So the takeaways basically, I must say that the water conservation and strategy, it assisted us a lot, of which one of the chief architects, as early as 2016, Phil Mashoko, former HOD, was here. It assisted us a lot in terms of making sure that we focus on things that matter. We ensure that when we budget, each and every cent, each and every input must give us output. So it assisted us to ensure that we focus on the program, to ensure that we get a buy-in from the executive. For example, I've mentioned Operation Clean Audit. Even during the cost containment, during the moratorium in the filling of position, we take this as a motivation. Then we give in a leeway that these positions are key for ensuring that we achieve, because now is not the target for only water and sanitation, is the target that is set at council level, that we ensure, that we also report to audit committee and risk committee, that they support us to ensure that we meet this target. So the institution has been very supportive in terms of ensuring that these targets are met, and ensuring that the investments and skills, training of staff are put into non-revenue water, ensuring that there's regular meetings with stakeholders. As I'm saying that internally, we've got non-revenue water committee, of which all senior management, you put no apology in that meeting. You must attend. And also you account for the inputs that you are giving to ensure that there is outputs. So there is also effective program management for drinking water monitoring, and we ensure that the capital investment for refurbishment, maintenance, and installation of new infrastructure include the component of non-revenue water. We compile also a comprehensive risk management plan. As I've said, that risk management plan is getting audited by internal audit. On quarterly basis, they report to audit committee in terms of our progress and commitment in achieving it. Thank you very much.
We can give Tozan and the Ekurhuleni team another round of applause. And we must also thank their partners, a very, very competent water service provider. If you have a very competent water service provider on your side, with the best practice in the continent, and it can actually feature well international, which is Rainwater. They've done well. They've done well. Your decision, ministers, to say we must have water providers that are competent, that are certificated. And if they don't do their job, there must be penalties. But if they do their job well, there must be incentives. Ungazami nje uklinga, you want to do everything a general dealer, but you can't be mastering anything. It's going to be very important. There are many of them, but Ekurhuleni and Rand Water, you can be a little bit more ambitious. The target for 21 to 2025, you might want to push this thing to below 20. Is very, very possible. And Tozani might not be telling you the benefits. For the first time, they will have an opportunity that the citizens will be happy. They are right to have access to water, less disruption. It does not necessarily mean there are no disruptions. But even the water that is being licensed, in terms of the coast, most of the water is no longer going on the ground. They are able to build the water and build it properly, because what kind of an asset that does not have a calibration? What kind of an asset management philosophy you have if you can't measure from end to end? And then one of the things, they are also saving electricity. You know this thing of managing of the night flows. You must know when to pump. You must know when to fill the reservoirs. The reservoirs can't be empty. They can't just be those structures that are there. They look so beautiful. And they are actually trending around between 0 and 40%. And high-lying areas, they don't have water. And you could see. And the only solution is to replace old infrastructure. These dorpies, these towns, they are more than 100 years old. If an asset has collapsed, in terms of structural engineering, it has collapsed. You can't just try to go and cut and what. You must fix it. Now that you are going to go to your commissions, we have managed to recover some time. We don't want it to be having a helicopter overview. No helicopter overview. The devil is in the detail. A concrete action plan is required by the ministers. What are you going to do immediately to turn around the situation in the immediate term? Then in the short term and in the long term. Decisive actions, time frames, including responsibilities. And you can't be all off. You can't be all off. Some of the issues we are going to address, they are standard operating procedures for all our systems. Whether it is wastewater system, whether it's the water treatment system, there is non-compliance with standard operating procedures. An asset is of a particular size, is classified, is being driven by wrong people in terms of qualification. The numbers are not correct, the DG is pointing out the numbers. We must be able to say, when we leave here, how are you going to address the issue that the car that is actually used to deliver the water to our people is driven by the right people, the right numbers, because it's an important thing. That's very important. We can't have all these vacancies. There are those that are also employed there in one municipality, I will not name. The guy is very qualified, but not for the size of that plant. And we must agree to say, how long is it going to take that these people, they must be at a level that by this time, they must have obtained the right qualifications, including the RPL DG. Recognition of prior learning, very, very important. But it's an important thing. But there are also those infrastructure, some municipalities, you don't even have a warehouse. The pumps, they're not working. As we speak, they are still sitting there. They are sitting with service providers. Even some of the pumps, we don't even know who are the manufacturer. When are the pumps coming back? You can't pump water without the pumps. And they must be in good condition. All of them, the motors, everything, mechanical, electrical, and hydraulic must work. We have to deal with that. Some of you, your filters, the water comes out, is so dirty. We have not even changed the filtration system. There are no sand filters. When are you buying them, Executive Mayor? We want to say, go munyu maspala lapha in your name, Macingwane, a Free State. Manje ngiyakubona Deputy Chair, we are here, Comrade Dot. That municipality, they can't. Water just come in so dirty. There is no trapping of all the material. They can't just buy a filter, which is costing less than R1 million. Some of them, they've ran out of chlorine. They've ran out of all these things. Do you have a warehouse? Ngoba phela ama-tools of trade, they are so important. We must address the question of tools of trade. Ningakhulumi isiqam thola. When you come back, we'll critique each municipality. I'm going to request that Comrade Sistembi, now Comrade Macingwane, if a municipality they have not presented well, we will keep them here. Then you as our principals, you will remain, will provide them with tea, will provide them with food. They can phone their families and say, we're not going to come back because we have not concluded our plan. And the plan is going to be credible. And the plan must be implementable, it must have achievable, it must have a budget. Then there is an issue of poor condition, of lack of maintenance. That's what DG says. One of the decisions that was made, and this is you leaders who don't want to make decisions, we have chosen not to make a decision. A decision was made that a certain percentage of milk is going to be ring-fenced so that we can ensure that we can deal with some elements of O&M. And that percentage, if I remember, is around 10% now. No? And you must ask the question where the money will come from. If that 10% is not there, your plan is not credible. Then the municipalities around now in January and February, there's a budget adjustment. The budget cannot be passed if the water money has not been ring-fenced. We must just declare it that this budget is not credible. All of you, we are selling water and electricity in terms of your income. The biggest income is on water and electricity. A progressive mayor and a progressive council and a very responsive MM as an accounting office will say that this is the cow I'm milking. This is an asset I'm sweating. How much I'm going to be actually taking back to be able to ensure that this asset can continue to be sweated. The budget cannot be an issue. You can't come here and ask money from Sistembi and also Macingwane. They will have to support you. But firstly, you must be able to demonstrate your commitment. Akuna muntu ozopasa i-budget anga-prioritize i-question of water. And we need to look at that. Then the issues of staff and correct qualification, we have taken about it. The prioritization of the budget and the maintenance. Then there's an issue of billing. You know, when you want to, sometimes you use wrong language. Don't say you want to put prepaid meters. Don't do that. Immediately you do that, there are people with a culture of non-payment. Just say that for us to know and make decisions, we are going to calibrate all our assets. We are going to have them metered. We want to know how much water we're getting from Macingwane so that we don't steal water over abstraction above your license. But the water boards, they must never be able to overcharge you because you don't even know how much water we have taken per day or per month. We are always paying the water that is for the license, but sometimes we are taking more or we are taking less. Therefore, issue of e-billing, like Comrade Tembi was saying here, the issue of metering from end to end until to the consumer. And have a proper communication and say to the consumer, I don't want to overbill you. I want us to measure here so that we can agree that I'm going to have an assurance of supply or assurance of availability. Then when I'm giving you water 99% of the time, and the 1% I'm able to fix your problems within this particular period, I want to guarantee you that you are going to pay me, but I'm going to give you a correct bill. Kunomunye ke nje umasipala engihlala kona ngikhohliwe igama. Hayi, uya estimate nje ubuka indlu kanje. Bese uya charge yabo. Because we are not collecting. Ama rural municipalities, Minister of Gauteng and Minister of Water, abakhulunyiswa ama-traditional leaders. There's a lot of non-revenue water in rural communities. Bayathatha nje Macingwane. Abanye, they are not indigent. you could see how South Africa is better today than yesterday. The asset base. In some provinces where we are deployed, we get deployed, and where we visit, you could see every household has a borehole. They afford a borehole, which is very good in terms of assets. But then there's a problem that there is a lot of densification now. There might be a problem of contamination. And the municipality must lead there. But utaban banga kokela amanzi, even a standard rate there, it's a problem. Because we're not actually saying people must pay for what? Someone is treating the what? There are these all input costs that we must pay for. So that not everybody that can afford to pay should not pay. Then the other matter DG raised, that you must be very clear. There are too many disruptions. Service delivery failure in many of your municipalities. One of the things the minister has decided is to have a customer care line. Kunabo maspala, omunyo maspala, they will always claim to be the best in the country. You know, your customer care is not at the level where it should. Where we are moved from pillar to post. Minister, one day you are speaking because some of the people who are appointed, they don't even know the leaders of our country. Yeah, this lady moved minister from one pillar to the other post to the other post. She was not aware that she's live on TV. The manner we treat our people with insensitivity and how inconsiderate we are. The question of stakeholder management and responsiveness must be at the center of your response. And then address the issue of vandalism. You know, from day to day, we find that infrastructure has been tampered with and there is no access. Those are some of the expectations, but your plan must be concrete. Your plan must be informed with key actions, timelines, responsibilities, and confirmed budget. Not desired budget. It's confirmed budget. We can then deal with the issue of DG Changan and DG Phillips. We can deal with the issue of the shortfall. But firstly, make the sacrifice. Ufaga irand and then sizobonta isifagane. Group 1, they are going to remain here. They know themselves, they are 67. We have not done well. You will be here. But we are going to support you to change your course. But if you don't change, we are going to hit you. Then group 2, those 38 who are poor. I want to put my results these days of the matric students. We have a rating scale. We are going to be in Fabia, room 1. The DG, who's going to take us to room 1? Our people who are protocol people. Fabia, I need the people who are doing protocol so that I can say so-and-so is taking us to Fabia. There are 30 of them, 38. There is Fabia 2. Sisichedi, ngicela unginikete umuntu wokuqala nowesibili so that makuphunywa la siyakhona. Then there's group 4. They go to Julia room, which is consisting of 12 municipalities that have done well in terms of good and excellent. What is going to happen is that all mayors and all the sector specialists, we are all attending, including us as ministries. We are going to move the ministers, they are going to move from one group to the other. We are all going to be there. And I'm going to request DG Changane and DG Phillips that with Salka, CEO, we have a roll call for each group. We have a roll call when we start, and we have a roll call when we end. We have a roll call when we start, and we have a roll call when we end. This is not a small matter. Then the other issue that is going to happen, we are supposed to stop at 16:30. But no group is allowed to actually adjourn until your plan is finalized. No group is allowed to adjourn tonight until the work is finalized, unless there's a medical emergency. And there are too many doctors, like Dr. Martin, Dr. Phillips. I don't know whether they're medical doctors. We will see. There are many, many experts here who are doctors, but probably no water in engineering. But we are not going to adjourn until the work is done. And when the work is done, then the secretariat, under the leadership of the 2 DGs, they are going to convene. The secretariat are going to go through the work with all the rapporteurs and the scribers. You go through it. There's a template that must be followed. Then the ministers and the deputy ministers and the chair of the boards and the MECs were all going to receive our reports tonight. The final presentations for tomorrow. We're going to receive them. But if there's a team that has not concluded, please make a provision that you'll spend a weekend here and you conclude your task. And then tomorrow, the issues are the DM Shabalala will run the program with DM Tau. There are different sessions that they will do, and there's a report back. And in between, we will have an opportunity to take lunch. The leader of each delegation, which is those who are presenting them, they will assist us to tell you when is lunch. Take lunch on time so that workers can't be inconvenienced. But secondly, come back on time. Manje ke comrade Mashiko, when u chairman we portfolio committee, when the oversight, uzawujonga nje ukuthi baqhubeka kakuhle. And uthathe ne record yabo. Because there are many other people who are doing oversight here. That's what we'll do. I'm not going to call the municipalities by name. Should I call them by names? Yeah, but niyazazi vele ukuthi ningcolile mos. And then on your way out, there's tea. Don't take tea for more than 15 minutes. And all the commissions must start exactly at 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock you start. We wish you all the best. Let's see each other at work. Thank you.